On September 4th at Apalachee High School in Winder, Georgia, we saw the 39th school shooting this year. I'm going to say that again. 39 school shootings have taken place in the United States in 2024, and we're in September. And that's current as of 5 days ago. The article that I'm going to discuss entails a Spanish teacher protecting her class during that shooting in a state where the starting salary for a teacher is $17,000 less than the state's minimum living wage. And that's according to the National Education Association. The teacher, Jennifer Carter, cites training, God, of course, and her bulky furniture in protecting kids. But what we cannot do is attribute the state of Georgia to having any positive impact whatsoever on this situation, as it is ranked 46th in the nation in terms of gun law strength. When is Georgia, in fact, when is this country going to get its priorities straight and protect children and restore safety in the classroom? This story is from NPR by Emma Bowman on September 7th, 2024. And gentlemen, I know what I'm supposed to do here. I think, and I know what I want to do, okay? I want to empathize with this teacher, Miss Carter, and I want to congratulate her. I want to say that my heart goes out to her because it really does. It really does. This must have been absolutely traumatic. And you can tell that it was in her recount of the story. And so, you know, I know that as an American, especially because this is a problem that's unique to America, as an American and as somebody who loves this country and somebody who loves our children and loves our teachers, I want to be incredibly empathetic and, you know, just support her however I can, with my voice if I can. On the other hand, though, gentlemen, I would be remiss if I didn't question some of the antics that are in this story, and I do it from a completely skeptical perspective and not one that's critical of Miss Carter, right? But, you know, I was looking over kind of our documents preparing for this show, and Jonathan, you had mentioned something that I wanted to harp on. So Miss Carter, you know, she starts her recount of this tale, excuse me, I shouldn't say tale, of this event on her Facebook post saying, I lied. I had to lie to my students, right? And she did. She said, guys, this is just a drill. Get down behind the couches. And Jonathan, you said something to the effect of lying or maybe just a good headline, right? You maybe think this was the introducing the story by highlighting that she lied was maybe is there something more to that? Did I read that right?
Yeah. To me, it sounded like clickbait. You know, and it probably pretty much was, because lying in that situation is not an issue. It's not a factor in what's going on. It's not bad to lie in that situation. Morally, there was no issue with it, but you know, making it out like she had a moral issue with lying to her kids, I think is kind of looks more like a marketing tool to me than an actual regret, because she was saving their lives. So I think that was, you know, the overriding concern is keeping them calm so they're not screaming and yelling, and thus attracting the gunman, you know. So keep them calm, keep them, you know, hidden. Yeah. That, you know, if you have to lie, if you have to cheat, you have to steal, you do it until you get the threat passed. And, you know, and so that's the one thing I was kind of like struck me as reading the article, that seemed more like the writer of the article making that point than the lady herself, because I don't think that was as big a deal for her as it was made out to be.
You're probably right. Now that you mentioned that, you know, she did start her Facebook post recounting this event with I lied, but it did become the central focus of this article, didn't it? Kelly, I know that you had some comments on that as well. So
I think she did feel bad about it. I don't think she might have felt bad about it in the immediate moment, but I would have felt bad about it. I feel bad about when I do things like that, because I worry about if the means justify the ends, right? And I can see where her first thought was, I've got to keep the kids calm. I've got to keep them chilled out, safe. And I can do that through lying to them. And she did it. And then 2 days later, she thought to herself, boy, you know, I don't like lying to kids. It jeopardized my position as a teacher when I lied to them. And I could see where she was like morally worried about what she had done, even though she did save lives.
Yeah.
It's a really, really hard place to put yourself into. I certainly wouldn't want to be her. And my heart goes out to her, just like you said, Jimmy. I really feel for this woman, and I'm so glad her and her students came out safe after this event.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I
Trolley
mentioned,
problem all over.
pardon me, say that again, Jonathan.
It's like the trolley problem all over again. Kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. Morally.
Yeah.
So you have to make a decision.
Well, I think what we are overlooking, or what not what we are overlooking, but I think what was kind of overlooked in this article was the way that teachers are treated, the environments that kids and teachers have to exist in on a daily basis. And so I want to just read out what somebody commented on Miss Carter's Facebook post. A guy named Landon Benson. Don't know who he is. Probably just a community member, maybe a friend, family. Every single teacher feels this, like a gut punch. I find myself scanning rooftops when I'm outside. I consider, where will we run from out here in the field? How would I get their attention when they are far from me? How quickly will we react? Almost daily. And so I think that really is what we should be focusing on. Not necessarily Miss Lambert's account of this event, but the larger picture here, that we have this faction of our society, if you will, which are teachers, right? We rely on them across our culture as Americans. We rely on teachers for 18 years plus, at least. And they are in a position where they are living a life as if they are the head of some security organization. And it really isn't fair. I opened up this article with, in my introduction, talking about how underpaid they are. And now, of course, we're in this debate. Do we arm teachers? And I kind of want to talk about that a little bit, if you guys don't mind. I want to ask both of you your thoughts. Kelly, I'll start with you this time. Where do we stand on arming teachers?
No.
Okay. That was very quick. Sounds like you've been thinking about this a while.
Oh, I've thought about it. I'll give you reasons, but let's hear what John has to say. So
Okay.
So then we can do it back and forth.
Sure.
I don't know what you think I was going to say. I was going to say
I don't know
no.
either. So.
No. 1,000 times no. Militarizing the schools is just making it worse for the kids. I remember full well, and so do you, Kelly, in elementary school, diving under my desk for a nuclear drill. Okay, literally terrorized for the first 6, 7 grades that I was, that we did that for. And I was just a little kid, and that imprints on you. We're not doing the children any favors by how we're treating it now. And to make it worse, by seeing the very instruments of death that they're afraid of toted around in their school, what are they going to think?
Yeah.
And so it scares me that we're going to be creating a whole nother group of people who are just terrified to live.
In an instance like this, I'm always worried about, we often hear stories about the policeman who left his gun in the bathroom. We always hear stories about the policeman whose gun got taken away from him during a scuffle.
Yeah.
And that's what I worry about. That's why I don't think guns belong in the school at all. Especially, it's one thing for the policeman who's been highly trained to use that gun, to have that gun in a safe position. But we are now going to rely on teachers who are already not making enough money to survive to now have to take on the role of also being a policeman.
Yeah, they've already got a job to do, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
exactly right.
And it's not just policemen that leave their guns around. I have been in Afghanistan and somebody lost their pistol, and an Afghan interpreter returned it. Thank goodness, right? Somebody who should not have had a weapon returned it to the person that was in charge of the area of the base that we were staying on. They called him the camp mayor or whatever. But anyway, this speaks to the fact that we, when it comes to guns, don't really have a good grasp on this situation. People are people. Teachers are above average people, but at the end of the day, they're not trained professionals with weapons, and nor should they be expected to be, because they have a job to do, and we have, as a society, already facilities in place and an apparatus in place to use guns and to protect us, right? Which brings me to my next point, guys. So gun laws in Georgia, number 46th in the country. Of course, for those of you who don't know, we have 50 states. So they don't
What's
make
the 50th? Who's the 50th?
Don't ask me. It's either
Texas.
Hawaii or I don't know.
I bet you it's Alaska.
Yeah, I think it is.
Alaska, probably.
But in any case, so Georgia doesn't do anything to protect their gun laws, but they do require schools to have an annual gun active shooter drill by October 1st each year. Now think about that. We are in September. It's September 18th today, right? As we're recording. And for those of you who figured out that we pre-recorded this and it's actually not next Wednesday when you're watching this, but it's this Wednesday. I gave our secret away, but at a time where we're supposed to be getting our textbooks, learning our new language, learning our times tables, instead we're focused on getting this drill done by October 1st. I digress a little bit or I rant a little bit, but I mean, what do you guys make of our priorities not being in order?
Well, I make that you're right. Our priorities are not in order. I think if they were, we might have been working more diligently on solving this school shooting problem. I mean, it is probably one of the most prevalent problems in America today, and yet we can't seem to get our shit together to even get a panel together to try and solve it. We can't even get a committee together to investigate and solve it, and that's a real problem. And it does say something about our priorities. Who the fuck in our government is running the show that they cannot protect our children? This is something that is really, really important, and it's important to a lot of Americans, and yet these idiots that we keep electing just keep blowing the problem off like it's nothing. And I know we have a few people in Washington that are talking about it, that are yelling that we need to do something, but nothing is getting done. Nothing.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. One is that how does a 14-year-old get the weapons to go into a school and shoot it up? This guy was 14 years old. Granted, they arrested him.
Yeah.
He's going to be tried as an adult, probably spend a long time in jail, which is not the great place for him to spend his teens and young life. But, he's going to learn how to be a better criminal at that point. And the other point is that gun violence is the leading cause of death for young children in the United States. The leading cause. It's not, illness. It's not falling off a bridge. It's not getting run over by a car. It's gunshots. And in what reality do we allow that to happen to children? They're always screaming, but the kids on everything.
Yeah.
Yet they allow their children to go to school and not come home. What the fuck is wrong with these people?
Well, and you know what? They're not only just screaming just the kids, but they're screaming thoughts and prayers as if that's going to do something for them, and I can't help but play devil's advocate here because I've already said it before. I'm super grateful for people like Miss Carter who can think quickly,
yes,
and who can get these kids to safety. But she asked her kids to hide behind couches and that she purchased big bulky couches where they took cover. But her remark in that recount was, "Thank God I ditched the desks for bulky furniture." We're thanking God for this. I mean, is this really where our minds are? We're thanking God for the actions of that day. And I don't mean to pile on Miss Carter because, what she did was very effective. And I feel like she would have continued to fight had she been in that situation. But in a larger respect, our minds are not on solving problems. Not in Georgia. We're not solving problems in Georgia. We're praying to invisible gods that allow shootings to happen and saying thank you for not allowing me to be shot. And then we're re-electing people who don't solve the problem and instead make us prepare for the problem by having us do drills while not relinquishing any of their poor gun laws. And so that's my rant on all this. Gentlemen, what does this story tell us about how our youth have to grow up now. And Jonathan, great point on the nuclear weapons, but or the nuclear drills. But are we in a different scenario? And I want to get your takes on that. Or is this different than that?
It is so different because this is an immediate threat. Nuclear war was like, okay, we're going to get down under our desks and put our heads down, that sort of thing, and basically just kiss our ass goodbye, but that was it, but it was terrifying because we knew even as a small child, I knew that we were doing this because the world was ending, at that point. But it was more often the distance. Gunfire inside your school is an immediate threat to you personally. It's terrifying. That's the subject of PTSD. Imagine giving your children PTSD when they are 5 years old, when they just started school, or all the way through teenagers in high school. Marjorie Stoneman High School here, this was a high school.
Having PTSD from that age.
Yeah, and having somebody right here who's had PTSD since that age, it's like that's going to affect the rest of their lives. You are basically ruining lives here. They will never be able to think of school in a positive light. Yeah, a lot of them aren't going to, the thing is that colleges have had this problem too. So saying they're going to go to college and everybody's an adult there and it's not going to happen is bullshit. Yeah. Right. So, and they know it's bullshit. Kids understand an awful lot more than you think they do. Parents out there. Yeah. And you think they don't know what's going on? Think again. They do. They're very perceptive. They catch little nuances and voices and things just like anybody else. They may not be able to put words to it, but they understand it. So if you want to think about the kids, let's seriously think about the kids and what we need to do to get this situation away from the schools and away from their lives, because you're going to grow up they're going to have a whole generation growing up just fearful. Now, maybe that's what you want, but, it's not a good thing for the kids. So wake up, and smell the roses and get rid of the guns.
Kelly?
First off, I want to say screw you, John, because now I got that song going through my head. Duck and cover, duck and cover. Jimmy doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Earwig.
Yeah, you lost me. I think maybe you listened to that song at the same time.
When we were young, we had to watch a little 5-minute black and white cartoon about how to save ourselves when the nuclear bomb landed on your head. And that was what we were supposed to do. Diane had a cute, catchy little song about ducking and covering. So that's why John mentioned back in those days and having the drills, and we'd always watch that movie before the drill.
Yeah. Old defense pictures from the Defense Department.
This is different though, isn't it? Because like when I was a kid, I never heard of a school getting nuked. I never heard of a bunch of school kids getting killed by an atom bomb. Right. Mm-hmm. So this is a completely different mindset. There's actually kids getting gunned down in their schools and other kids are hearing about this. So, yeah, it is a different thing. It's completely different. Yeah. And I'm just thankful that I'm not a kid nowadays, because I don't know how I'd be able to deal with that, especially with what I had to deal with to begin with as a kid. Having this piled on it would have drove me crazy.
Absolutely. And it affects society as a whole. As somebody who has a child in preschool and in high school, I never thought that I'd be dreading a call like that, but sometimes I think about it. Is today the day that it happens to me? Because we're all at one time or another about many different things. I'll never get sick. I'll never get into a car wreck. It won't happen to me. But is today my day? And society. Go ahead, Kelly.
That's something a parent shouldn't have to fucking worry about.
That's right. Parents shouldn't have to worry about it. Kids should be able to enjoy themselves and learn comfortably. And teachers shouldn't have to wonder if they're going to need to be an expert marksman instead of grading midterm papers or coming up with lessons and things like that. And so that's where our society is backwards. I just want to put this on you, gentlemen, that, I said that there were 39 school shootings so far this year as of September 13th, 2024. Last year, first of all, I don't think anybody probably knew that. Not you, but in general, I don't think the general public would know that. We had 82 last year and 79 the year before. I want to ask you both, is this normal now? Because people like to say, oh, well, this is becoming normalized. We are becoming desensitized. I would argue we're way past that point.
Oh, yeah, we are.
I want to know what you guys think about that.
I would agree that we are way past the normalization part. You ever notice these things you hear another shooting and it's kind of like, oh, well, change the channel.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's right.
It used to be you get all upset about it, but you can only get upset about things so much. And if they start being frequent, you can't emotionally deal with it, so you shut it out. But instead of doing something about it, you're ignoring it.
It is normal, and it doesn't have to be. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be.
Never
normal.
should be.
And it's going to take people standing up. It's going to, like the kids from Florida or the parents from Massachusetts. It's going to take more and more people standing up who were victims or related to the victims, and the people who didn't have anything happen to them standing up and making this change happen. It's not going to happen any other way. It's not going to happen until a majority of Americans stand up and say, I have had enough of this. We need to do something. And it's about time for us to start standing up and saying that.
Well put. Fascinating discussion, gentlemen. I just want to say that not only are our elected officials on either the state or the national level doing anything about it, God's not doing about it either. And I just want to remind you of that. As a member of the atheist community of Austin, it's time to start thinking about this from a skeptic perspective. Are we putting all of our hopes into an invisible character that is obviously, if it is real, not going to help us? And then why do we put our support behind people who are not helping us? The Sandy Hook children would have been in their senior year of school this year. And they, like many other kids across this country, are never going to know what it's like to have a normal school experience. And I'm going to depart with that. Guys, again, thank you so much. Viewers, if you want to hear more from us, just click one of our links below.